whether it be what we're talking about today, partnerships and multidisciplinary practices, or any of the other multitude of issues that come up for physicians in setting up their practice. And that's really kind of what I focus on. Essentially, the corporate veil is the protection that you have for your personal assets by forming what you call a corporation. So with partnerships, that corporate veil does not exist. So that's one of the major factors in choosing whether or not you want to form as a partnership or as a corporation. I'm starting off with this because this is really important. People don't really realize the importance or the significance of this issue. A lot of times what happens is you collaborate with another person. So another doctor, you guys get together and you say, hey, let's associate. I put the elements of partnership here. Let's associate for the purpose of operating a business and for sharing profits. Now what you say is, okay, we want to work together and make money together, but there are consequences to that. If you don't put that in writing, by default, under Illinois law, you've formed a partnership. And the reason why that's significant is now that other partner can make decisions for you in regards to that partnership. Right? Usually people talk about LLCs, S corps, Viz talked about that earlier, standard corps, C corps. Where is all that terminology? Why are these the types of entities I'm using? And the reason why I put these up there is because this is what you should be focusing on, rather than the standard LLC or whatever designation that you use behind your corporation. And I'll explain what each of these are. So BCA corps. So each of these designations are the name of the legislation that allows you to incorporate in this way. So BCA is Business Corporations Act. It's an Illinois legislation and it allows you to form an LLC or a standard corp. This one, PSCA, is a Professional Services Corp Act, and that allows you to form a, what most of you may call like an SC corp or a Professional Services Corp. So it'll be like, whoever, John Smith, SC, and that's the name of your business, and that's a corporation. Professional Services Corporation Act allows you to create that sort of corporation. And MCA, Medical Corporation Act, is what most of you call a MedCorp. In actuality, it would be a corporation under Medical Corporations Act. And finally, the Illinois Professional Services Act Corp. Not very widely used, and I'll tell you why, but still a possibility for most people. The reason why these are significant for you is the rules change for multidisciplinary practice with each of these acts and who you can partner with or who you can associate yourself with. And we'll get into sort of the meat and bones in this right now. Okay, so if you organize your business improperly,
okay.
Your contracts won't be at stake. The contracts that you have with your vendors, with your clients, still be enforceable. However, you may lose your corporate protection. So your corporate protection is the protection that a corporation provides for you to protect your personal life. In a medical corp, for example, that are not physicians, as defined by Illinois law, may render all of your contracts void. And so it's a little hairy with litigation. I'm sure Pierre could tell you. Is if you run into a situation which you don't want to, you want to organize properly and make sure that whoever's licensed to practice within that, all those acronyms I talked about, whoever's licensed to practice within those organizations must be within the law. With partnership, ironically, it's a little bit more complicated, and you have to get into some of the very specific situations. Sometimes it may apply, sometimes it may not apply. Sometimes you may be able to partner with somebody depending on what their role is. With a partnership, it changes. But really, partnerships, unless there's a really strong overriding reason to form a partnership, you really should be looking at incorporation and Protect Corporations Act. This is what most people call a MedCorp. And creating your organization under this. So incorporating under Medical Corp Act, you'd see your last name, limited LLC, sort of easy to identify. And you actually have to have one of these designations. Can only be used by MDs, DOs, and DCs. Okay?
DC also is there, right?
DC is also.
No, DC, SC and PC, professional corporations.
Yeah. So this isn't an exhaustive list, but you have to have some sort of designation. So an MCA Corp, any of these professions can organize as an MCA Corp. And the reason why that is the MCA Corp is sort of a collaborative legislation with the Medical Practices Act, which I think most of you guys are familiar with. Medical Practices Act defines physicians in Illinois as MDs, DOs, and DCs. So anybody that's a physician as defined in Illinois law can organize as an MCA. Okay. So joint ownership is allowed by any of these professions without destroying the enforceability of your contracts. So this is okay. So to answer your question, if you file under MCA as a services corp, as a DC, and you hire an MD, this is really talking about ownership. We'll get into employment, but if you partner with an MD, you're okay. You can do it under MCA. The rules change depending on which way you incorporate, and we'll get into that. So it's a little bit complicated, which we'll get into some of the other ones right now. So,
But the pharmacist you cannot.
not under MCA, no, you cannot. So PSCA, Professional Services Corporation Act. This is what pretty much any profession. So we're talking about physicians. We're talking about dentists. We're talking about podiatrists. We're talking about lawyers. We're talking about engineers. Several professions fall under PSCA, and this is what a lot of times you'll see PSCA is named as the person's name, comma, SC, PC, something like that. Professional Services Corporation Act. So, Professional Services Corporation Act is different than MCA in that it allows certain related professionals to organize together as shareholders, directors, and officers. So, the key language in PSCA is this text right here, and this is also used in the Medical Corporations Act as licensed to practice medicine in all of its branches, which includes anytime you define this under the Medical Corporations Act, it does not include DCs. It only includes MDs and DOs.